Welcome to DBC. Today we are continuing with solution-focused brief therapy on the chapter 5, which is entitled Sustaining the Miracle. And the focus of this chapter is to speak and address in solution-focused terms the idea of relapse prevention. And solution-focused brief therapy is used a lot in substance abuse treatment and how to sort of translate the words of relapse prevention from being so problem-focused to being solution-focused. So we're going to talk a little bit, number one, about the problem of problem-focused, right, which we've talked about already. Number two, we're going to talk about the emergency roadside repair kit, which is a metaphor that the authors used instead of relapse prevention. We're going to talk about using that with so-called reluctant clients, and then when to use the emergency roadside repair kit. So 4 things. Number one, we're going to hop in. When we talk about relapse prevention, there's a tendency for the primary goal of the client to be avoiding a return to problematic behavior or relapsing. And this almost necessitates a sort of hypervigilance in the client as far as being like kind of afraid or having a phobia of relapsing, which is not without reason. However, if we focus so much on the problem, they're always one dangerous situation, one weak moment away from their problem. And the idea is that whatever you focus on, you're going to get. So if there's so much focus on the problem in the client's head and in the environment, there's going to be more of a problem. And of course, with solution-focused brief therapy, we want to focus on the solution so that we get more of the solution instead of more of the problem. So there's this great metaphor called the emergency roadside repair kit. And it would go something like this in conversation, where we kind of ask, you can even frame it again like the miracle. I want to ask you another funny or somewhat weird question, but what do you have in the trunk of your car? And the client might start listing things like, I've got a tennis racket and an extra pair of shoes. What else do you have? You look around in there. Oh, well, there's a spare tire like under the dash or under the flooring, and then there's a jack and a thing, and there's like I have a flashlight and a little triangle to put on the side of the road so people would know if I was pulled up from the side of the road. And they'll list all these things, flares perhaps, or the sticks put on the ground. And so you would say, you sound pretty prepared. Why do you have all that stuff in there? And of course they would say, well, in case there's an emergency or an accident. Are you planning on having an emergency? Of course they're not, right? So how often when you're driving your car down the road do you think of having a problem? Think of having an emergency? And the answer is going to be never or almost never. So once we've worked through this metaphor, then the transition comes to what they're working with in their life. And I know that you've also been working a lot towards your miracle. What kind of emergency stuff do you have in case you hit a bump in the road with respect to your miracle? And the client will start thinking, and they'll come up with the things that they're doing or they've instituted in their lives or that they would like to, that they can, to counteract metaphorical bumps in their road. So there's 4 main things about the emergency roadside repair kit of why they're there and how they work. The first thing is that it metaphorically normalizes potential problems that might come up without having to be so much of a focus on it, right? Number 2 is it highlights their own coping abilities and confidence in the resources despite problems that might arise. Like no one that they've ever come across has been irrationally afraid of having a roadside issue or problem. There's an implicit focus, number 3, on empowerment through preparation on behalf of the clients. So they'll be empowered in the future via preparation they're doing now, that they're aware of now. And number 4 is that the emergency supplies are often forgotten and later remembered. So a lot of times you ask them what they have in the trunk of their car, the emergency roadside kit or some aspect of it will not be even the first thing, but it will be uncovered and remembered. So that's the emergency roadside repair kit. We're going to talk quickly about relapse prevention, emergency roadside repair kit with reluctant clients in quote. This is the idea where someone's referred to counseling by some outside source, maybe a social worker or a probation officer, and that referral source and the client are not on the same page about where the client is in their life and what they need to change or whatever. The key idea here is to skip the step or steps where you argue and focus on whether or why the client should or should not be in counseling with you. Skip all that, and we of course want to ask a question that's more future and solution focused. Something like, well, how would you like your life to be different in the future? So to take on that role as opposed to this sort of back and forth. And then there's the idea of when to use the emergency roadside repair kit. So the first step, kind of going back to a few videos ago, is to define the miracle and then ask the miracle question. And then that might take up the entire first session, depending on where the client's at. And then we want to scale their progress from 1 to 10, where 10 is, again, the best situation, the miracle is fully realized. And once they've made good progress and they're doing maybe up towards like 7, 8, 9, we want to scale their confidence in maintaining their progress and what they've done. And this is, again, framing the client as being in charge of the change, and that it's not a random change. It just happens like, oh, the wind changed directions. And yeah, so that they're confident in their own abilities to maintain this change. And then we want to also, this is all reviewing stuff, scale significant other people in the client's life, scale their confidence in the client. And again, if there's that gap, well, what don't they know about you yet? Or what will they be seeing when they are more highly confident in you? So once everybody's feeling very confident, the client and everybody around them in their life, there's a tendency for a lot of really good emotions to justifiably be there. And that is when the emergency roadside repair kit metaphor should be deployed and used and discovered. And then after that, after we go through their resources that they have, should an emergency or a bump in the road, in their metaphorical or physical road happen, then we want to, again, scale their own and then significant people in their lives confidences in the client's ability to use the emergency roadside repair kit. So, and then again, if there's a gap, what don't they know yet, and what will they be seeing in you once they are more confident in your ability to do this? And again, this is all generating the client's own language about getting themselves toward their own miracle. And then, so what the idea here is that, and we're going to talk about this in a few more chapters later as well, is that we want to hear what the problem-focused referral sources need, because they might come at you with all this negativity and how they've messed up chronically, blah, blah, blah. But what do they need? And then we want to translate the solution-focused work that we're doing in a way that someone with a problem-focused mindset will understand. And we can actually, we'll talk about this, we can actually do sort of very solution-focused interventions with as far as the questioning and the directing toward the future on referral sources too, and it's just as effective. So that's it for this time. Next time we're going to talk about using solution-focused brief therapy with adolescents, those who do not need to be there, as well as a bit about how to speak French in solution-focused brief therapy. We'll learn about that next time. Thank you.